Okay, I chose to do para ice hockey for my presentation. So, how is para ice hockey played? And what is para ice hockey? So, para ice hockey, it uses many of the same rules as ice hockey. So, that includes icings, offsides, power plays, penalty kills, full contact, a lot of the same equipment. There are some things that separate para ice hockey and make it unique. Um, One of which is three 15-minute periods. So instead of three 20-minute periods in ice hockey, para ice hockey uses three 15-minute periods. Um, Boards. So the boards are clear along the benches, which allow for visibility for the players in the bench, as well as synthetic ice in the benches, which allows for players to get around on the bench and a more smooth transition when getting on and off the ice. Another unique feature about para ice hockey are T-boning and ramming penalties. T-boning is when you charge at an opponent using the front radius of your sled and you make contact with the opponent. Ramming is when a player intentionally raises the front of the sled and collides with another player. Or if they expose a sled blade, which is located on the bottom of the sled. Um, two skate blades are on the bottom of the sled, and if those are exposed and the player collides with another player, that's ramming. So teeing and ramming are both penalties. Um, and like I said before, equipment. So the upper half of the equipment used is the same essentially as ice hockey equipment. The variation comes with the lower half and the sticks. So each player plays on their own sled. They sit in the bucket and they propel themselves across the ice using the knob of the stick, which have metal picks on them. Um, Typically, the players have a right-handed stick and a left-handed stick, um, and they mainly just go forwards. No backwards motion. That would be very difficult. And they can choose to wear hockey pants in the bucket. It's personal preference, and each sled is kind of tailored for the individual and their own unique needs. Goalies are a little bit different, so they are allowed a little bit more options to customize their equipment with. So, for instance, the heel of their stick, so they have a pick on the heel and as well as the knob. They have metal picks on their gloves. Um, this allows for the goalies to be more mobile in the net, um, while still maintaining the trapper and blocker setup. Um, as well, goalies can opt to have a leg pad if they so need, and if they, depending on how a goalie plays, um, a goalie can opt for a leg pad and play a hybrid style or a more butterfly style, versus a goalie could not use a pad, sit sit horizontal in the net, and kind of play like the goalie's playing in the image. Although the goalie in the image has a pad, it really differs from goalie to goalie. Here's kind of a visual of the benches. As you can see, the plexiglass that the players are able to see through, as well as the synthetic ice. So this is how they kind of get around on the bench. And typically the gates are a little bit shorter than ice hockey gates. Local, provincial, and national memberships. So, para ice hockey is a growing sport, but it kind of lacks exposure, which varies from community to community. So, a smaller city like Lethbridge has a little bit less opportunity than, say, Calgary, mainly due to population and size of the city, but it does vary from different cities and different provinces. But the sport is still growing from province to province, and players can actually get scouted in local and national competitions within their province, and they could be selected for a regional selection camp. Now, this is mainly in Canada, but you can get picked out of these competitions to join the national development team and go to main camps. And in these main camps, you compete for a roster spot against players who have already played on Team Canada, as well as players who are trying out through these regional selection camps. Nationally, the sport is growing. You can see like U.S. is the leader for golds right now, but there are countries like Norway, which is not typically a large ice hockey country, has 2 gold medals, pretty impressive. South Korea and Estonia are in this graph, so there are other countries other than the North American countries that are making their mark and on the global scale. So, origin of the sport. It was originally founded by individuals in a rehabilitation center in Stockholm, Sweden. They made up their sled with a metal frame in which they sat on, and they used a skate blade or a skate and attached it to the bottom of the sled, and 2 poles with bike handles attached on each end as their sticks. In 1969, a 5-team league was formed. It included players with impairment as well as able-bodied individuals to compete. It was more local competition, but then it spread out. Word got around and it spread nationally. And the first national game was actually played in the 1976 Paralympic Games in Sweden. But it wasn't officially an event until 1994 in Lillehammer, Norway. And that's when these nations all competed, and it was an official sport. Para ice hockey became an official sport. Now, Jean Lane in 1993, kind of tying into local opportunity, she had the opportunity to grow the game and was able to fund para ice hockey opportunities in Medicine Hat, and this is why it varies from community to community, because this is when it was para ice hockey started to grow more, and its origins were actually in Medicine Hat, and although Med Hat is a little smaller than other communities in Alberta or in Canada, this is why it kind of varies for opportunity and different programs in different cities. So it'd be nice to extend the opportunity throughout more cities in Canada. And like I touched on, in Lillehammer, Norway, in 1994, para ice hockey was an official event. Now, today, a lot's changed since 1994. So the sled itself, obviously, we touched on the features of the sled, but it's a lot lighter. The buckets are an added feature, and they're more tailored. The sleds are more tailored towards the individuals and their impairments. The sticks, obviously, are fiberglass now, a lot lighter, a lot easier for the players to propel themselves across the ice. In 2016, para ice hockey was actually called sledge hockey. It switched in 2016 and was renamed para ice hockey. This was due to a few reasons, the main being misinterpretation between languages, and para ice hockey being more easily able to correlate with the Paralympics and their name, and it was a little bit of a controversial name switch, but as of today we call it para ice hockey. So, and it's grown tremendously. So as of the 2022 Paralympics, 7 national teams and 117 total players played, compared to 57 players and 5 national teams when the sport was first introduced. So slowly it's growing, but like I said, locally it varies between communities, and we still need the sport to continue to grow. Now, classification and eligibility for the sport. Athletes must be have a permanent impairment in the lower part of the body, making stand-up hockey impossible. This includes leg and foot amputation, paralysis, joint immobility, cerebral palsy, leg shortening, spinal cord injuries. Specifically, a major spinal cord injury. And for paralysis, typically a loss of 10 muscle points, and for leg shortening, a minimum of 7 centimeters kind of qualifies you to be eligible to play on a competitive level. So accessibility barriers are big with para ice hockey due to scheduling the ice. The equipment, it's not only expensive, but it's limited, and it's just not the most accessible at times. So a strategy we can use is an inclusive game that we can create from standard gym equipment that we have laying around in your everyday gym. So an inclusive game setup. So we could introduce this game in a standard gym. We can use these scooters, pool noodles, beach balls, and a standard hockey net. The individuals can propel themselves with the pool noodles as well as hit the ball with the pool noodles, and goalies can use the scooters as well in the net. You can divide the class into a parallel activity depending on skill level or motivation for that day. You can even use a smaller ball or using mini sticks to simulate actual sticks and a puck with different varying skill levels. You can make certain modifications, like I said, so smaller ball, smaller stick. You can even do a smaller net, which would make it easier for the goalie but harder for the players. A larger net making it more difficult for the goalie and maybe easier for the players if you use a small ball. So you can change the level of difficulty, and you can adapt the game based on the individual's needs. thank you for watching, and these are my references. And have a nice day.